The clang of steel doors slams through Riverton State Penitentiary like thunder. It's lunchtime, and the cafeteria buzzes with noise. Metal trays scraping, voices rising, guards barking orders. But at one table, everything goes silent in an instant. Guard Frank Doyle stands over a black inmate, his hands locked tight around the man's throat. His eyes burn with rage, his knuckles white as he squeezes harder. "You think you can talk back to me?" Doyle snarls, spit flying. The inmate, Jamal Brooks, a tall man with calm eyes, chokes, his tray clattering to the floor. He grips Doyle's wrists, gasping for air. The room freezes. Inmates stare wide-eyed, stunned. Phones are banned, but whispers aren't. And whispers spread fast. Doyle's losing it. He's choking him out. Somebody's got to stop this. But no one moves. Yet. Guards nearby watch uneasily. Some too afraid of crossing Doyle, others too accustomed to his cruelty. Doyle thrives on it, his voice dripping venom. "You're nothing but trash," he hisses, and trash gets taken out. Jamal's vision blurs, spots dancing before his eyes. He thinks of his daughter, her last words before his sentencing, "Daddy, don't let them break you." And then, movement. From the back of the cafeteria, a chair scrapes loudly across the floor. Heads turn. The air shifts. It's Marcus Iron Hill, the undisputed gang leader of Riverton. A man feared by guards and inmates alike, his reputation carved from years of dominance inside these walls. Tattoos curl up his thick neck, scars line his knuckles, and his stare alone can silence a room. He rises slowly, towering over the table, his eyes locked on Doyle. "Let him go," Marcus says, his voice low but lethal. Doyle glances up, still gripping Jamal's throat. He smirks, though sweat beads on his forehead. "What's the matter, Hill? Not your business." Marcus steps closer, his shadow falling across them both. "It's my business now." The cafeteria holds its breath. Inmates shift nervously, sensing the fault line about to crack. Even the guards tense, hands inching toward their batons. Doyle squeezes tighter, defiant. He's nothing, just another mouth to feed. Marcus leans in, his voice like gravel. "And I say he's under my protection. You got a problem with that, Doyle?" The words hang heavy, thicker than smoke. Doyle falters, his grip loosening just slightly. He knows Marcus's power doesn't come from fists alone. It comes from the hundreds of men in this room who would rise at his signal. Finally, Marcus growls, "I said let him go." Doyle hesitates 1 second too long. Chairs screech back as inmates stand, eyes locked, waiting. The pressure explodes, not in violence, but in unity. Doyle curses under his breath and shoves Jamal back into his seat. Jamal gasps for air, clutching his throat, his chest heaving. The cafeteria erupts, not in chaos, but in a low, powerful chant that rolls through the room. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Doyle stumbles back, his authority cracking, his face pale as the sound builds. He storms out, shoving past other guards, but the chant follows him down the corridor like a curse he can't escape. Marcus places a hand on Jamal's shoulder, steady but firm. "You're safe now." Jamal looks up, eyes wide, voice hoarse. Why did you help me?" Marcus doesn't answer right away. He just stares toward the door Doyle fled through, his jaw tight. "Because some lines you don't cross, not in here." The cafeteria slowly quiets, but the shift is permanent. For the first time, the walls of Riverton feel different. The inmates saw a guard choke one of their own, and saw a man stand against it. And Doyle? He thought fear would keep control. Instead, he walked away with none. The balance of power has tilted, and the storm has only just begun. The cafeteria incident spreads like wildfire. By evening, every tier in Riverton is buzzing. Guards whisper about Doyle's loss of control. Inmates replay the moment again and again. How Marcus stood up, how Doyle backed down, how Jamal lived to see another meal. In his cell, Jamal sits on the lower bunk, rubbing the bruises on his neck. His cellmate Leon whistles low. "You're lucky, man. If Iron hadn't stepped in, you'd be on a stretcher. Or worse." Jamal swallows hard, voice hoarse. "Why me? Why today?" Leon shakes his head. "It wasn't about you. Doyle wanted to remind everyone who runs this place, but Iron reminded him instead." Across the block, Marcus sits on his bunk, silent as always. His crew huddles nearby, whispering. One of them, Reggie, leans close. "You sure it was smart, boss? You've got enough eyes on you already. Stepping in like that, Whitaker's gonna notice." Marcus shrugs, his tone even. "Whitaker already notices everything I do, but Doyle crossed a line, and lines matter." Meanwhile, in the guard locker room, Doyle paces like a caged animal. His face is flushed, his pride in shreds. "They saw me back down. Me! That convict humiliated me in front of everyone." A younger guard mutters, "Maybe you went too far, Frank. Choking a man in the middle of the cafeteria? Cameras or no cameras, people talk." Doyle whirls on him, eyes blazing. "Too far? That's the problem with this place. No one's tough anymore. You let them get away with one thing and the whole prison crumbles. Carter, Hill, Brooks, they're nothing. And I'll prove it." But even as he spits the words, Doyle feels the tremor in his authority. He knows Marcus's intervention wasn't just defiance, it was a declaration. That night, as the blocks quiet down, Jamal can't sleep. Every time he closes his eyes, he feels Doyle's grip around his throat. He hears the guard's hissed words, "Trash, nothing." Then he remembers Marcus's voice, steady and final. "Some lines you don't cross." By morning, Jamal makes a decision. In the yard, he approaches Marcus, who sits on the bleachers watching a basketball game unfold. Inmates give him space, as they always do. Jamal steps cautiously, his voice low. "I just wanted to say thank you." Marcus doesn't look up right away. "You don't owe me thanks." "But I do," Jamal insists, rubbing the bruises on his neck. "He was going to kill me. You saved my life." Finally, Marcus meets his eyes. His stare is sharp but not unkind. "I didn't save you. I reminded Doyle that this isn't his kingdom. That matters more than one man." Jamal frowns. "Why me, though? You don't even know me." Marcus leans forward on his cane-like arms. "Doesn't matter who it was. It could have been you, or Leon, or anyone else. The point is, Doyle thought he could take everything from us and walk away laughing. I showed him he can't." Other inmates gather, listening. Marcus's words carry weight, his calm delivery louder than any shout. Leon grins from the sidelines. "Looks like Doyle woke a sleeping giant." Back in the warden's office, Whitaker slams a report down on his desk. "I have a guard accusing Hill of threatening him, inmates chanting for justice, and rumors of a movement spreading through my prison. What the hell is going on in here?" Lieutenant Harris shifts uncomfortably. "What's going on is Doyle lost control. Hill didn't start the fire, Doyle did." Whitaker sneers. "Hill is a gang leader. He doesn't care about justice. He wants power. And if Doyle can't handle him, then I will." But Whitaker knows deep down he's losing grip. The cafeteria chant still rings in his ears, carried to him through reports. Justice, justice, justice. That word, repeated by hundreds of inmates, terrifies him more than fists or knives ever could. That evening, Doyle corners two guards in the corridor. His voice is sharp, his eyes wild. "You saw what happened yesterday. If we don't crush Hill now, we lose the prison. You with me?" The guards exchange uneasy glances. One mutters, "Careful, Frank. People are watching. Harris, the warden. Even folks outside are sniffing around." Doyle sneers. "Let them watch. I'll handle Hill my way." Then, the next day, in the cafeteria, Doyle prowls like a wolf, his eyes locked on Marcus. Inmates feel the tension ripple. Jamal sits nearby, his chest tight. He knows Doyle won't stop until blood is spilled. Suddenly, Doyle slams his baton on the table. "Hill!" he barks. "On your feet, now." The cafeteria stills. Inmates freeze, trays suspended midair. Marcus rises slowly, towering over Doyle. His voice is calm, deadly. "You sure you want this, Frank?" Doyle smirks, but his hands tremble. "You think you run this place? You think you're untouchable?" Marcus takes a step closer, his shadow swallowing Doyle. "I don't think. I know. And every man here knows it too." Around them, the chant begins again. Low, steady, unstoppable. Justice, justice, justice. Doyle's face twists. For a moment, it looks like he'll swing his baton. But then he sees the eyes, hundreds of them, burning, waiting. He lowers it slowly, muttering curses as he storms out. The chant grows louder, shaking the cafeteria walls. Jamal exhales, relief flooding him. Marcus turns to him briefly, his voice low. "This isn't over, but you're under my wing now. That means you stand tall too." Jamal nods, his throat still raw. "I will." The cafeteria roars with unity. Doyle has lost again, and with every failure, his desperation sharpens. The war for Riverton's soul has only just begun. The cafeteria echoes long after Doyle storms out, the chant of justice still hanging in the air. Inmates return to their cells with a new energy. Something has shifted. Fear no longer rules as it once did. Back in his block, Jamal sits on the bunk, rubbing his neck. Leon whistles, shaking his head. "You see Doyle's face? Man looked like he swallowed fire. He's not done with you, or with iron." Jamal exhales. "I know, but when Marcus stood, everyone else stood too. That wasn't just him, that was all of us." Leon smirks. "You're starting to get it. That's how power flips in here. Not with knives, not with fists, but with numbers." And yesterday? Numbers weren't on Doyle's side. Across the block, Marcus listens quietly as his crew recounts the cafeteria standoff. Reggie, always the loudest, slaps the table. "Boss, you had him shaking. I swear if you'd lifted a finger, he would have cracked." Marcus raises a hand, silencing him. "It's not about cracking Doyle. It's about control. Fear runs prisons. Always has. But now the fear's shifting. That's dangerous. For him and for us." That night, Doyle sits alone in the guard locker room, fists clenched, jaw tight. His reflection in the metal locker stares back at him, twisted by rage. They chant for him. They chant for justice. In my prison. Over my authority. He pounds his fist against the locker, the clang echoing like a gunshot. Another guard, older and weary, mutters from across the room. "Frank, you're making this worse. Every stunt you pull, every outburst, it's all eyes on you. The warden's nervous, the department's circling, and you're lighting matches in a room full of gasoline." Doyle spins, eyes wild. "Matches? No, I'm the only one holding this place together. Without me, they'll eat us alive." But even as he says it, doubt gnaws at him. He remembers Marcus's stare, steady and unblinking. He remembers the sound of hundreds of voices rising as one. The next morning, the yard opens. Sunlight spills across the cracked concrete as inmates flood out. Gangs that once kept to their corners now nod at each other. The divisions are fading, replaced by something Doyle can't control. Solidarity. Jamal walks cautiously, still new to the invisible lines that divide the yard. Marcus waves him over, a gesture that shocks many. Few men earn iron's protection so quickly. "You're with me now," Marcus says simply. "That means no one touches you. But it also means you walk tall. Understand?" Jamal nods quickly. "I understand." From the tower above, Doyle watches, his grip tightening on the railing. He radios down. "Hill's recruiting. He's turning them into an army." Lieutenant Harris's voice crackles back. "He's turning them into men who won't be silenced. There's a difference." Doyle snarls, tossing the radio aside. Difference doesn't matter when they burn this place down. Later, in the warden's office, Whitaker reads the daily report, his face tightening. Chants. Silent refusals. Inmates uniting. This isn't discipline. It's a mutiny in slow motion. Harris clears his throat. "Sir, with respect, this is on Doyle. His abuse sparked this. If you cut him loose, maybe we can calm the storm." Whitaker shakes his head. "Cut a guard? Sacrifice one of our own? That shows weakness." "No, Hill is the cancer here. Remove him and this all collapses." But Whitaker knows it isn't that simple. Doyle's name is already whispered outside the walls. If families and activists find out, the protests will grow louder. That evening, Jamal finds himself walking beside Marcus in the block. "Why do you do it?" he asks quietly. "You don't need to risk yourself for men like me. You've got power, respect. Why fight the guards?" Marcus pauses, leaning on his cane. His voice is low, almost tired. "Because I've been here long enough to know. If we don't stand together, they'll pick us off one by one. Today it was you. Tomorrow, someone else. Lines matter, Jamal. If we let Doyle cross that line, then none of us are men anymore. We're just prey." Jamal swallows hard, realizing Marcus isn't just a gang leader. He's something more. That night, whispers echo through the block. Men pass messages through vents, sharing what they saw, what they felt. Doyle tried to choke one of them. Marcus stopped him. The prison rose. From his solitary bunk, Doyle listens too. Rage twists in his gut. He mutters into the darkness, "They think Hill saved him. They think Carter's a hero. But I'll remind them all, fear belongs to me." Meanwhile, Leon leans over the edge of his bunk, whispering to Jamal, "You know what you started, right? You didn't mean to, but you lit the match." Jamal frowns. "I didn't start anything. Doyle did." Leon shakes his head. "Maybe. But it's your bruises, your survival, and Marcus's stand that gave these men something to believe in. You're part of it now, whether you like it or not." Jamal lies back, staring at the ceiling, his throat still tender, his mind racing. He never wanted to be anyone's symbol. But inside Riverton, symbols are born the moment silence is broken. And Doyle, cornered and humiliated, is already plotting his next strike. The sun rises over Riverton State Penitentiary, but inside the walls, the air feels darker than usual. Inmates file to breakfast under the sharp eyes of guards, the echo of boots pounding concrete louder than the trays clattering onto tables. Something is building, everyone feels it, but no one says it aloud. Jamal sits stiffly at his table, still nursing the bruises on his throat. Leon whispers from across the tray, "Eyes on Doyle. He's circling like a shark." Jamal glances up. Doyle is pacing the cafeteria's perimeter, baton tapping against his leg. His smirk is gone, his face is twisted with barely contained rage. Every so often, his eyes lock on Jamal, and the message is clear. This isn't over. Marcus sits nearby, calm as always, his crew around him. He doesn't flinch when Doyle walks past. He simply eats, every movement deliberate. Power in silence. The cafeteria hums with tension until Marcus finally speaks, his voice steady but carrying. "Eat. Keep your heads high. Don't give him the show he wants." Jamal nods, swallowing hard. He understands now. Doyle isn't just after him. He's after everyone's fear. Later that morning, the yard opens. Sunlight spills across cracked pavement as inmates stretch, shoot hoops, or walk laps. Marcus takes his usual spot on the bleachers, his cane resting at his side. Jamal approaches, uncertain. "You sure it's safe for me to be out here?" Jamal asks. Marcus's eyes track the guards on the tower. "Safe? No. But standing in the open matters. If Doyle sees you hiding, he wins." Nearby, Leon joins them, grinning. "Besides, you've got Iron Hill behind you now. Ain't nobody dumb enough to touch you." But Doyle is dumb enough. From the tower, he grips his rifle tighter, his eyes glued to Jamal. He mutters under his breath, "You think his protection will save you? Not forever." In the warden's office, Whitaker watches the feeds on the monitors. The yard looks calm, but he can feel the shift. Inmates aren't scattered like usual. They move in clusters, unified, and Hill is at the center. Whitaker scowls. "Hill's influence is spreading. We can't allow that." Lieutenant Harris crosses his arms. "Hill didn't spark this, Doyle did. If you keep covering for him, the whole place will ignite." Whitaker slams his fist on the desk. "Doyle is a guard. Hill is a criminal. I know where my loyalty lies." But Harris says nothing, his silence louder than words. Back in the yard, Jamal sits beside Marcus. "Why risk it?" he asks quietly. "You've already got power. Doyle's not your fight." Marcus's gaze hardens. "Doyle's every man's fight. He's the system in flesh. You think if I let him choke you without stepping in, it stops there? No. Tomorrow it's another man. And the day after, another. Lines matter. I don't let him cross mine." Jamal nods slowly. He finally understands. That evening, the cell block hums with whispers. Word spreads that Doyle petitioned Whitaker for permission to discipline Hill. The rumor alone sends waves of unease through the tiers. Leon leans over the bunk. "He's coming for Marcus, man. He wants blood this time." Jamal clenches his fists. "Then what do we do?" Marcus answers from his cell across the tier, his voice steady but carrying. "We stand. Same as before. He swings, we don't scatter. That's how you kill fear." The next day, it happens. In the cafeteria, Doyle slams his baton on the table in front of Marcus, his voice booming. "On your feet, Hill. You think you run this place? Let's find out." The room freezes. Inmates hold their breath, trays suspended. Jamal's heart pounds in his chest. Marcus rises slowly, towering over Doyle. His expression is calm, unreadable. "Careful, Frank. You're playing with fire." Doyle sneers, baton raised. "Then let's see who burns." The silence is shattered by a sound. Bang, bang, bang. Inmates slam their fists on tables, the rhythm building. The chant begins, low but growing. "Justice, justice, justice." Doyle's hand trembles. His eyes dart around the room, seeing hundreds of men staring him down, united. The baton lowers slightly. His smirk fades. Marcus steps closer, his voice a growl. "You wanted a fight, but you're outnumbered. Not by fists, but by voices. And that scares you more than anything." Doyle curses under his breath and storms out, shoving past other guards. The chant grows deafening, shaking the walls. Jamal exhales, relief flooding him. He looks at Marcus, awe in his eyes. "You didn't even touch him, and you still won." Marcus sits back down, calm as ever. "That's the point. Violence is what they expect. Unity is what they fear." That night, the chants continue through the blocks, echoing into the streets outside. Protesters pick them up, voices blending until the city hums with the same rhythm. From his bunk, Jamal whispers to Leon, "He's not just a gang leader, he's something more." Leon grins. "Welcome to Riverton. Sometimes the man you fear most becomes the man you follow." In his office, Whitaker hears the noise through the vents, his face pale. For the first time, he wonders if the prison belongs to him at all anymore. And in the darkness of his cell, Doyle whispers, "They think they've won, but I'll make them choke for real next time." The war for Riverton's soul is far from over. The cafeteria standoff lingers in every whisper, every glance exchanged across Riverton's tiers. For the first time, Doyle walked away beaten, not by fists, but by silence, by chants, by unity. And unity is something Riverton hasn't seen in years. Jamal wakes sore but determined. As he splashes water on his face from the cracked sink in his cell, Leon mutters, "You realize you're in the middle of history, right? Hill didn't just protect you, he set off a storm." Jamal dries his face, eyes narrowing. "Feels less like history and more like a target painted on my back." Leon shrugs. "Targets turn into shields when enough men stand behind you." In the yard later that morning, the atmosphere is different. Inmates no longer walk hunched or divided by gang lines. Groups that once eyed each other with hostility now exchange nods. Marcus sits on his usual bleacher, calm and imposing, his cane resting against his knee. Jamal walks toward him cautiously, dozens of eyes following. Marcus looks up. "You're learning to stand." "I'm trying," Jamal admits. "But Doyle isn't going to stop. Everyone knows it." Marcus nods. He's desperate. Desperate men are dangerous, but they're also sloppy. From the tower above, Doyle grips the railing, eyes locked on the scene below. His pride is a wound that won't stop bleeding. He mutters to himself, "You think you can embarrass me twice and walk tall? Not for long." Later, in the warden's office, Whitaker fumes over the latest reports. Chants, sit-ins, guards losing authority, Hill and Brooks fueling it all. This is spiraling out of control. Lieutenant Harris, calm but sharp, responds, "It's spiraling because Doyle keeps pouring gasoline on the fire. If you don't pull him out, this will blow." Whitaker slams his fist on the desk. "Doyle's a guard. Hill's a convict. I will never sacrifice one of ours for one of them." Harris's eyes narrow. "Then you won't just lose Hill. You'll lose the whole prison." Meanwhile, Doyle corners two younger guards in the locker room. His voice is venomous. "You saw what happened. The inmates think they run this place now. If we don't crush Hill, we lose everything." One guard shifts uneasily. "Frank, if we swing first, the department will hang us out to dry. The cameras outside, the protests, everyone's watching." Doyle slams his fist into the locker. "Then we don't let them see. We do it in the dark." That night, Jamal lies awake on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Leon whispers from above, "You feel that? Like the walls themselves are listening?" Jamal exhales. "It's not just the walls. It's everyone outside too. The chants, they hear us now." And he's right. Outside the gates, protesters chant into the night, their voices echoing through the city. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Families of inmates hold signs, reporters broadcast live, and the world begins to see Riverton not as a prison, but as a symbol. Back in the block, Marcus gathers a small group by the bars. His voice is low but firm. We hold steady. No riots, no chaos. That's what Whitaker and Doyle want. We give them peace and unity, and we win. One younger inmate frowns. Peace after everything they've done? Marcus taps his cane on the floor. Peace is louder than violence when the whole world's watching. Don't forget that. The next morning, the cafeteria hums with tension. Guards line the walls, their hands twitching near their batons. Doyle enters, his eyes locked on Jamal. The room stills, every inmate bracing. Doyle strides forward, slamming his baton against Jamal's table. Enjoy your meal, Brooks. Might be your last peaceful one. The room erupts, not with violence, but with rhythm. Fists pound tables, voices rise. Justice, justice, justice. Doyle's face flushes crimson. He lifts his baton, ready to swing, but Marcus rises, towering between Doyle and Jamal. His voice cuts through the chants. Not today, Frank. The chant grows louder, thunderous, rattling the walls. Guards bark orders, but their voices are drowned out. Doyle hesitates, the weight of hundreds of eyes pressing down. Finally, he storms out, slamming the door behind him. The chants echo long after he's gone. Jamal exhales, shaking. He looks at Marcus. You can't keep protecting me forever. Marcus meets his gaze. I'm not protecting you. I'm protecting the line. As long as we stand together, Doyle can't cross it. That night, the block hums with whispers. Inmates pass word through vents. Doyle's not done. Whitaker's furious. Something bigger is coming. From his solitary cell, Doyle mutters into the darkness, "They think they've won, but when the lights go out, I'll remind them whose prison this is." In his own cell, Jamal whispers to Leon, "This doesn't feel like the end." Leon smirks grimly. That's because it isn't. It's the beginning. And as chants echo into the night, Riverton braces for the storm that everyone knows is coming. The storm Marcus predicted begins to gather. The cafeteria chants don't fade. They grow louder each day, spreading through the blocks, into the yard, even bleeding into the quiet of the chapel. Guards bark orders, but the inmates barely flinch. Silence is no longer fear. It's defiance. Jamal walks cautiously across the yard with Leon. The sunlight feels heavy, the eyes of guards in the tower sharper than ever. "They're watching us closer," Jamal mutters. Leon nods. "They're waiting for someone to slip. Give them an excuse." Up on the bleachers, Marcus sits with his crew, surveying the scene like a general. When Jamal approaches, Marcus gestures for him to sit. "Whitaker's losing control," he says flatly. "Doyle's his last weapon. Desperate men are dangerous." Jamal glances toward the tower. Doyle is there, rifle slung across his shoulder, his stare locked on them. A shiver runs down Jamal's spine. Later that afternoon, the warden's office rattles with Whitaker's fury. Every day it's chants, every day it's protests. They've turned this place into a stage for rebellion. He slams his fist against the desk, and Hill is orchestrating it. Harris stands calmly. "Hill didn't cause this, sir. Doyle did. The more you protect him, the more you lose this prison." Whitaker's jaw tightens. "Doyle is my man. Hill is a convict. I'll never sacrifice one of ours." Harris's eyes narrow. "Then you'll sacrifice everything else." Back in the block, Marcus pulls Jamal aside. "Listen carefully. Doyle won't stop coming. You're the bruise on his pride. And me, I'm the wall he can't climb. He'll try to break one of us in the dark, where no chance can save us." Jamal swallows. "So what do we do?" Marcus leans closer. "We stay visible. We stay united. He can't strike if the world's watching." That night, chants rise again, echoing through vents and bars. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" The rhythm shakes the prison, spilling into the streets outside. Protesters light candles, their chants joining the chorus. Riverton no longer feels isolated. It feels exposed. In the locker room, Doyle seethes, pacing like a predator. They chant his name. They protect Brooks. They think Hill runs this place. "Not while I'm breathing." A younger guard mutters, "Frank, if you keep pushing, the department will pin all this on you." Doyle slams his baton into the locker. Then let them. I'd rather go down fighting than crawl out humiliated. The next day, the cafeteria is tense. Guards line the walls, eyes darting. Doyle prowls near the doors, his baton tapping against his palm. Jamal sits with Marcus and Leon, his chest tight. Stay calm, Marcus mutters. He wants you to flinch. Suddenly, Doyle slams his baton on the table in front of Jamal. Stand up, Brooks. The cafeteria goes still. Jamal's heart hammers in his chest. Marcus rises slowly, towering between them. Back off, Frank. Doyle sneers. What are you gonna do, Hill? Run another little chant? You think that scares me? Marcus leans forward, his voice low and lethal. Not the chant, the men behind it. Right on cue, fists begin pounding tables. Bang, bang, bang. The chant rises, louder and louder. Justice! 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 Doyle's face reddens. He raises his baton, but freezes. Hundreds of eyes burn into him. Guards shift uneasily, unsure whether to back him or back away. Finally, Doyle lowers the baton and storms out, his rage boiling over. The chants echo long after he's gone. Jamal exhales shakily, whispering, "He won't stop until he kills me." Marcus's jaw tightens. Then we make sure he never gets the chance. That evening, Harris visits the block on rounds. He pauses at Marcus's cell. You've got the place on edge. The warden won't admit it, but he's rattled. And Doyle, he's unstable. Marcus leans on his cane. Unstable men with power are dangerous. Maybe it's time you do something before he burns this place down. Harris doesn't reply, but his silence speaks volumes. That night, Jamal lies awake. Leon whispers from the top bunk, "You ever think about the outside? About what happens if this all really blows?" Jamal stares at the ceiling. The outside's already in here. Every chant, every camera, every protest, they're inside these walls now. Doyle can't stop that. In solitary, Doyle whispers to himself, he thinks chants protect him. But chants can't save a man when his throat closes. The storm is tightening. Riverton is no longer just a prison, it's a battleground. And Doyle isn't finished. Riverton wakes to a silence that feels dangerous. Not the silence of fear, those days are gone, but the silence of anticipation, like the whole prison is holding its breath. Guards patrol with sharper eyes, their hands never far from batons. Inmates walk taller, more deliberate, aware that every step is being watched. Jamal feels the weight of it as he shuffles to breakfast with Leon. The bruises on his throat have faded, but the memory hasn't. Feels like something's about to break, he mutters. Leon nods, eyes darting to Doyle standing near the doors. Yeah, and I think Doyle's the one who's gonna swing the hammer. In the cafeteria, Marcus sits at his usual table, calm and collected, his crew surrounding him. When Jamal and Leon join, Marcus lowers his voice. Whitaker's desperate. Doyle's unhinged. That's a bad mix. Keep your head steady. Don't give them the excuse they're looking for. The meal passes in uneasy quiet until Doyle makes his move. He slams his baton against a table, the crack echoing like a gunshot. Brooks, he shouts, eyes locked on Jamal. On your feet. The room freezes. Inmates glance between Jamal, Marcus, and Doyle. Jamal's chest tightens, but before he can rise, Marcus stands. You want him? Marcus says evenly. You go through me. Doyle smirks, though his grip on the baton is tight. Gladly. The air thickens. Inmates shift in their seats, some rising slowly. The tension hums, a wire stretched to its limit. Doyle takes a step closer, but Marcus doesn't move. His voice drops, low and dangerous. You've already lost this fight, Frank. Everyone here knows it. You can swing your baton, you can choke another man, but every time you do, the walls echo with chants. And those chants reach further than you ever will. The cafeteria erupts. Bang, bang, bang. Fists pound tables, voices rising. Justice, justice, justice. Doyle's face twists. He raises his baton high, but stops. The weight of hundreds of eyes crushes him. The sound rattles the windows, vibrating through steel and concrete. Guards exchange uneasy looks, some even stepping back. Doyle lowers the baton slowly, muttering curses, and storms out. The chant grows louder, following him down the hall. Jamal exhales, trembling. Marcus sits back down, calm as if nothing happened. He's weak now, Marcus says quietly. Every time he lashes out, we grow stronger. Back in the warden's office, Whitaker paces furiously. Hill is running my prison. Doyle is losing control. The department is sniffing around, and protesters are multiplying by the day. If we don't crush this now, it'll spread. Harris stands by the window, arms crossed. It already has spread. The chants are outside your gates. The truth is bigger than these walls now. Whitaker slams his fist on the desk. Then we cut off the head. Hill, Brooks, whoever it takes. We isolate them until their voices fade. Harris shakes his head. You isolate them now, you make martyrs. And martyrs don't fade. They multiply. Meanwhile, in the yard, Jamal feels the eyes of every man on him. Some nod in respect, others whisper his name. Leon smirks. Looks like you've got a fan club, brother. Jamal shakes his head. I don't want fans, I just want to survive. Marcus chuckles low. Survival isn't the point anymore. You're part of the line now, and once you stand on the line, you don't step back. Up in the tower, Doyle watches, his fury simmering. He grips the railing so hard his knuckles turn white. You think Chance will protect you, Brooks? You think Hill will always be there to shield you? He mutters through clenched teeth. You'll choke for real next time. That night, the block hums with whispers. Inmates tap out messages through pipes, spreading word. Doyle tried again. Doyle failed again, and the prison rose louder than ever. Jamal lies awake, staring at the ceiling. Leon whispers from above, You're in it now, D. No way around it. You're part of something bigger. Jamal sighs. Bigger scares me more than Doyle does. Leon grins in the dark. That's how you know it matters. In his office, Whitaker scribbles orders furiously. He's lost patience. Tomorrow, we end this. No chance, no defiance. We show them who runs this prison. But the walls of Riverton already know the truth. They've heard the chants. They've felt the unity. And no order, no baton, no chokehold can silence that anymore. The storm is no longer coming. It's already here. The morning feels heavier than usual. Even the clang of the breakfast bell sounds sharper, harsher. Inmates file into the cafeteria under the watchful eyes of guards in full gear. Shields hang at their sides, batons grip tighter than ever. Jamal sits stiffly at his table, Leon across from him. Something's up, Leon mutters. They don't bring riot shields for eggs and oatmeal. Marcus enters last, his presence alone making the room hold its breath. He sits calmly, his crew forming a quiet wall around him. His eyes flick across the guards, then to Doyle standing near the front, his baton already in hand. The tension snaps when Doyle slams the baton against the table nearest him. Enough of the chants, enough of the games. Today you eat in silence, or you don't eat at all. The room freezes. Inmates glance at each other, waiting. Then one man taps his tray with his spoon. Another joins. The rhythm builds. Clang, clang, clang. The sound spreads, steady, defiant. Doyle's face twists with rage. He storms toward the sound, baton raised. Marcus rises slowly, blocking his path. Stand down, Frank, Marcus says, his voice calm but firm. Doyle sneers. You think you run this place? Marcus steps closer, his shadow falling across Doyle. Not me, them. He gestures toward the room, where every inmate is now tapping, the rhythm booming like a war drum. Clang, clang, clang. The sound is deafening. Guards shout for silence, but their voices vanish under the rhythm. Doyle's hand shakes as he grips the baton tighter. For a moment, it looks like he'll swing, but Lieutenant Harris bursts in, his voice sharp. Enough! The room stills. Even Doyle pauses, startled. Harris glares at him. Put the baton down, officer. Doyle hesitates. His pride battles his fear. Finally, he lowers it, muttering curses. The tension doesn't fade, but the war is postponed. After breakfast in the yard, Marcus sits with Jamal and Leon. They're cracking, Marcus says. Doyle's unraveling. Whitaker's desperate. The more they tighten their grip, the more it slips. Jamal frowns. But what if Doyle snaps for real? What if he doesn't wait for cameras or chance next time? Marcus leans on his cane. Then we stand louder. The only thing keeping him dangerous is silence, and silence is dead now. In the warden's office, Whitaker seethes. "You embarrassed me, Harris, in front of inmates no less." Harris's tone is even. "I saved you from a bloodbath." Doyle was ready to swing on a cafeteria full of men. That would have lit the whole prison on fire. Whitaker slams his fist on the desk. "Then maybe fire is what we need." Harris stares at him. "Or maybe fire is what will burn you down." That night, the block vibrates with chants. Inmates pound their fists against bars, voices echoing through vents. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Outside, protesters pick up the cry, their candles glowing against the night sky. From his solitary cell, Doyle whispers into the dark, "Chance won't save you, Brooks. Hill won't save you. One night when the lights are out, I'll remind you who I am." Meanwhile, Jamal lies awake on his bunk, Leon whispering from above. "You feel that? The whole prison's breathing together now. It's bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than Marcus. This is history, man." Jamal exhales. "History feels heavy." Leon chuckles softly. "That's because you're carrying it." The next morning, news crews swarm the gates. Headlines flash across the country. Inmates unite against guard abuse. Interviews with protesters play on every channel. Families of prisoners tell stories of years of mistreatment. Riverton has become a symbol, and Darius Carter's name spreads further every day. Inside, Marcus gathers Jamal and a few others in the yard. His voice is low but steady. "The world's watching now. That means we hold the line. No fights, no knives, no blood, just voices. That's how we win." Jamal nods, though doubt lingers. "And if Doyle doesn't play by those rules?" Marcus's eyes harden. "Then we make sure the world sees him break them." That evening, Whitaker holds a closed-door meeting with Doyle. His voice is sharp. The department's circling. The governor's office is sniffing around. "If they find one more spark, I'm finished." Doyle leans forward, his grin feral. "Then let me finish it. Take out Hill, take out Brooks, and the rest will fall in line." Whitaker hesitates. He knows Doyle is reckless, unstable, but he also knows his own grip is slipping. Finally, he nods once. "Do it, but don't get caught." Doyle's eyes gleam. "Oh, I won't." Back in his cell, Jamal can't shake the feeling of dread. He whispers to Leon, "It's coming. I can feel it." Leon nods grimly. "Yeah, the question is, when it hits, will we stand or will we fall?" And somewhere in the darkness of Riverton, Doyle sharpens his rage into a plan. The storm is no longer on the horizon. It's inside the walls. Night falls heavy over Riverton, but no one sleeps easily. The chants from earlier still echo through the blocks, bouncing off steel and concrete, rattling even the guards' nerves. Jamal lies awake, staring at the ceiling, his chest tight. Leon whispers from the top bunk, "You hear that silence? That ain't peace. That's Doyle planning." Jamal swallows hard, feels like he's breathing down my neck even when he's not here. Across the block, Marcus sits on his bunk, wide awake, his cane resting by his side. His instincts are sharp after years of surviving inside these walls, and tonight, those instincts tell him danger is closer than ever. In the guard locker room, Doyle sharpens his plan. He grips his baton, whispering into the dark. Hill thinks voices will save him. Brooks thinks Hill will shield him. But when the lights go out, chance won't matter. One strike, one warning, and this whole place remembers who I am. The next morning, Riverton wakes uneasy. Breakfast is quiet, the kind of quiet that hums like static before a lightning storm. Guards patrol with tension in their shoulders. Inmates glance nervously at one another. Marcus notices immediately. "They've tightened the leash," he mutters to Jamal. "That means they're getting ready to pull it." After the meal, yard time is cut short without warning. Back in the blocks, men whisper through vents and pipes. "Something's coming. Doyle's moving." The warden signed off. By afternoon, the air is thick. Protesters outside grow louder, their chants rising over the walls. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Inmates pound their bars in rhythm, the sound merging with the voices beyond the gates. Riverton shakes with unity. But Doyle doesn't hear chants anymore. He only hears the pounding of his pride. That evening, as lights dim, Doyle makes his move. He storms into the block with 2 guards at his back, keys jingling, baton in hand. His eyes are locked on Jamal. "Brooks," Doyle snarls. "On your feet." Warden's orders. The block falls silent. Inmates rise from their bunks, watching. Jamal's stomach knots, but he doesn't move. Leon grips the bars of his cell, his voice sharp. "Don't go, D. You know this ain't right." Marcus steps into the open, his cane striking the floor like a drum beat. "If he leaves, I leave. And if I leave, we all leave." The block erupts in agreement, men pounding bars, shouting, voices uniting. "No, no, no," Doyle sneers. "You think numbers scare me? You think noise will save him?" He swings the baton against the bars, sparks flying. Noise dies when the lights go out. Marcus stares him down, calm but unyielding. "Then turn the lights out. We'll still be here when they come back on." The chant begins again, low but growing. "Justice, justice, justice." It spreads through the block, echoing into every cell, shaking the walls. Doyle's face twists, his pride unraveling. He lunges forward, swinging his baton toward Jamal. But Marcus steps between them, his cane blocking the blow with a loud crack. The room explodes, not into violence, but into sound. Inmates roar, slamming fists, chanting so loud the concrete itself seems to vibrate. Guards falter, their formation breaking. Doyle shouts, but his words vanish under the wave of unity. Lieutenant Harris rushes in, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Stand down, Doyle! That's an order!" But Doyle doesn't hear. He swings again, his baton cracking against Marcus's shoulder. Marcus stumbles but doesn't fall. His eyes blaze as he growls, "That all you got?" The chants grow deafening. Guards shout into radios, the block alive with fury. Doyle lifts his baton one more time, and then the sound of boots thunders down the corridor. A squad of officials, clipboards in hand, storms in. State investigators, drawn by the noise, by the timing, by weeks of reports piling up. Cameras follow them, recording everything. Doyle freezes mid-swing, his rage caught on tape. The investigators' eyes widen as they take in the scene. An armed guard, a room full of chanting inmates, a gang leader standing tall with a cane, and Jamal clutching his bruised throat. Harris seizes the moment. "You wanted the truth?" he shouts to the investigators. He points at Doyle. There it is. The room stills. Cameras flash. Inmates chant louder, sensing the shift. Doyle's face drains of color as he realizes he isn't just fighting Marcus or Jamal anymore. He's fighting the world's gaze. The investigators bark orders. Guards pull Doyle back, his protests drowned in the chant. "Justice, justice, justice." Jamal exhales, his chest heaving. Leon grips his shoulder through the bars. "You're still here, brother, and the world just saw why." Marcus, bruised but unbroken, leans on his cane. He looks at Jamal and then at the investigators. "Lines matter," he says, his voice low but clear, and today the line held. Outside, protesters erupt in cheers as word spreads. The chants inside and outside merge into one unstoppable roar. For the first time, Doyle doesn't look like a guard. He looks like a man already buried by his own hate, and Riverton has never felt more alive. The moment Doyle is dragged out by investigators, Riverton changes. The chants don't fade, they thunder even louder, echoing through the cafeteria, down the blocks, and out into the streets beyond the gates. For once, it feels like the walls themselves are trembling with the sound of justice. Jamal sits in stunned silence, Leon gripping his shoulder. "You see that? They pulled Doyle out. On camera, in front of everyone." Jamal nods slowly, his throat tight. "I thought he was going to kill me." Marcus leans on his cane, bruised but steady. His voice is low but powerful. "He tried. And the whole prison stood between you and his hate. That's the difference. Alone, we fall. Together we rise." Word spreads like wildfire. Within hours, every block hums with the news. Doyle exposed, Doyle restrained, Doyle finished. Whispers race through vents and pipes. Maybe Riverton can change, maybe the walls won't hold the same way anymore. But in the warden's office, Whitaker rages. He slams his fist against the desk, the revolver in his drawer rattling. "They humiliated me. Investigators walking into my prison, cameras rolling, dragging out one of my guards like he's the criminal." Harris stands stiff, arms crossed. "He is the criminal, sir. Everyone saw it. You can't bury this anymore." Whitaker glares. Maybe I can't bury it, but I can bury them. Hill, Brooks, all of them. Harris shakes his head. If you try, you'll bury yourself. The world's watching now. Whitaker doesn't answer. His silence is darker than any words. That night, the block is alive. Inmates pound their bars in rhythm, the chant rolling like thunder. Justice, justice, justice. Some men cry openly, others laugh, but all feel the same shift. For once, power isn't just in the guards' hands, it's in theirs. Jamal lies on his bunk, Leon whispering from above. You realize what you are now, right? You're not just a man who survived Doyle, you're the spark. Hill lit the fire, but you're the reason it caught. Jamal shakes his head. I didn't ask for this. Leon chuckles. No one ever does. But history doesn't ask. It chooses. Across the tier, Marcus listens quietly, his face unreadable. He knows Leon is right. And he knows sparks can burn as easily as they can light. The next morning, reporters swarm the gates, shouting questions at every official who enters. Headlines flash, guard assault on inmate caught on camera, Riverton under fire. Chants for justice shake the walls. Inside, inmates walk with their heads higher. Guards bark orders, but fewer men flinch. Doyle's absence is a hole that can't be filled. His brutality kept the prison in fear. Without it, the balance tilts. In the cafeteria, Jamal sits with Marcus and Leon. The room buzzes with energy. A younger inmate leans close, whispering, You're the reason he's gone. You stood tall, and now he's finished. Jamal shakes his head. I didn't stand tall. Marcus did. All of you did. Marcus's gaze sharpens. Don't shrink, Brooks. You survived him. That matters. Your survival is proof the system failed, and men out there are listening. Own it. Before Jamal can answer, the loudspeaker crackles. Attention. Effective immediately. Warden Whitaker has been placed under review. The Department of Corrections is assuming temporary control. The cafeteria erupts in cheers. Men pound their trays, voices rising. The chant returns, louder than ever. Justice, justice, justice. Marcus smirks faintly. And just like that, the king's crown falls. But not everyone is celebrating. In a dark office, Whitaker sits slumped at his desk, his face pale. The revolver gleams beside him. He whispers, They took my power. They took my prison. But I won't go alone. Meanwhile, Harris walks the tiers, his presence steady. Inmates watch him closely, unsure whether to trust him. He pauses at Marcus's cell. The department's taking this seriously now. They'll hold hearings, review tapes, interview everyone. This is your chance to tell the truth. Marcus nods. We'll tell it. Every voice, every story. They'll know everything Doyle did and everything Whitaker allowed. Jamal swallows hard. And then what? Harris meets his gaze. Then maybe this place becomes something more than a cage. That night, chants echo through the blocks, louder than ever. Jamal lies awake, Leon whispering from above. Feels like we won. Jamal exhales slowly. We didn't win yet. Doyle's gone, Whitaker's shaking, but the fight's not finished. They'll push back. Marcus's voice rumbles from across the tier. He's right. Justice isn't a moment. It's a war. And wars aren't over in a single battle. Outside the gates, protesters cheer as the news spreads across the city. Families hold signs, candles flicker, cameras roll. Riverton has become the heart of a storm, a symbol of voices that refuse to be silenced. And deep inside his office, Whitaker loads his revolver, whispering into the night. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The announcement that Warden Whitaker is under review spreads like fire. By morning, the entire prison hums with whispers. Inmates walk taller, guards look uneasy, and for once, the balance of power feels fragile. Jamal sits on his bunk, Leon perched above. Can you believe it? Leon grins. Whitaker's about to lose his crown. Doyle's gone, the warden's cracking. Man, the walls are finally talking back. Jamal exhales slowly. Yeah, but men like Whitaker don't just step aside. They grab onto power until their fingers bleed. Across the tier, Marcus leans against his bars, cane in hand. He's right. Cornered men don't surrender. They explode. And Marcus is right. In his office, Whitaker stares at his revolver, the weight of it heavy in his hand. His reflection in the window looks hollow, desperate. They think they've won, he mutters. Hill, Brooks, the protesters, the investigators, but they don't know me. I built this place. I'll burn it down before I let them take it. Lieutenant Harris enters, his tone cautious. Sir, the department is moving in. The investigators want access to all records. You're finished. Step aside quietly, and maybe you walk out with dignity. Whitaker's head snaps up, his eyes blazing. Dignity? After they drag Doyle out like a criminal? After they turn my prison into a circus? No, Harris. If I go down, I'll take them all with me. Harris's jaw tightens. Then you'll prove them right about everything. The warden doesn't answer. His silence is darker than words. That afternoon, the yard opens. The sun beats down as inmates gather in clusters. Jamal walks beside Marcus, uneasy. Feels like everyone's staring, he mutters. They are, Marcus replies. You're the bruise Doyle couldn't erase. That makes you proof. Proof scares them more than any gang ever could. Across the yard, a guard yells an order, but no one rushes. They move on their own time now, heads high. The chants start softly, then grow. Justice, justice, justice. From the tower, cameras capture every second. Reporters outside broadcast live as the sound rolls through the prison and out into the city. Protesters cheer, their voices joining the chorus. Inside his office, Whitaker watches the footage, his face pale with rage. They're mocking me. My prison, my rules, and they mock me. His hand hovers over the revolver again. That night, the block is restless. Inmates tap out messages through pipes, the rhythm carrying across tears. Whitaker's finished, hearing's coming, change is here. But Marcus warns Jamal quietly, don't celebrate yet. He's desperate, and desperate men don't go quietly. Jamal lies awake, Leon whispering from the top bunk. You ever think maybe you'll walk out of here free one day? After all this? Maybe your name's the one that cracks the door. Jamal stares at the ceiling. I don't think about me. I think about voices. If they're heard, then maybe this all means something. But across the prison, Whitaker sits in his office, revolver on the desk, files scattered around him. He whispers to himself, they'll remember me one way or another. The next morning, investigators arrive in force. Suits file through the gates, cameras flashing. They demand records, interview inmates, question guards. Harris escorts them, his expression grim but steady. In the cafeteria, inmates eat quietly, waiting for the storm. Then, without warning, Whitaker enters, his uniform sharp, his face twisted with fury. The room falls silent. You think you've beaten me? Whitaker's voice booms. You think chance and cameras make you powerful? You are criminals, nothing more, and I am still the warden of this prison. He slams his hand against the table, and for a terrifying moment, the revolver gleams at his hip. The room tenses. Inmates freeze. Guards shift nervously. Then Marcus rises slowly, his voice calm but commanding. You're not the warden anymore, Whitaker. You're just a man with a gun and no power. The cafeteria hums. Inmates pound their trays, the chant building, Justice, justice, justice. Whitaker's face twists. His hand trembles near the revolver, but the sound grows louder, rolling like thunder, shaking the walls. Investigators rush in, cameras flashing, recording everything. Harris steps forward, voice sharp. It's over, sir. Put the weapon down. For a moment, Whitaker wavers. His pride, his career, his fury, all teetering on the edge. Then, finally, he lowers his hand. The revolver clatters onto the table. The cafeteria erupts in cheers, chants echoing louder than ever. Jamal exhales, his chest heaving. Marcus sits back down, cane resting at his side. Lines matter, he says softly. And today, the line held again. Outside, protesters roar as news spreads. The warden is finished. Riverton has fallen into the hands of justice. But deep down, Jamal knows the fight isn't just about one guard or one warden. It's about every voice that was silenced, and every voice that rose. And those voices aren't stopping now. The moment Whitaker's revolver clatters onto the cafeteria table, a shiver of relief spreads through the room. Inmates roar with chants, their fists pounding trays and tables. Justice! 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 The sound echoes through vents, into the blocks, out the gates where protesters cheer in unison. But the relief is fragile. Jamal sits stiffly, heart pounding. Leon grins at him from across the table. You saw that? The man's finished. He laid down the gun. This prison isn't his anymore. Marcus leans on his cane, calm but watchful. Don't mistake surrender for defeat. Men like Whitaker don't accept endings. They claw until their last breath. And Marcus is right. In the warden's office, Whitaker sits hunched, head in his hands. The revolver has been taken by investigators, his authority stripped, but his pride still gnaws at him. They cheered, he whispers bitterly. They cheered when I fell. Lieutenant Harris stands across from him, voice firm. Because you failed them. Because you covered for Doyle. Because you thought fear was power. Whitaker glares up, his eyes bloodshot. Fear is power. And when fear dies, chaos wins. Harris shakes his head. No, when fear dies, justice breathes. The silence that follows is thick, final. By afternoon, investigators swarm Riverton. Files are seized, guards are questioned, inmates are interviewed. The prison feels less like a fortress and more like a crime scene. Jamal is called into a small room, a recorder set in the center of the table. Tell us what happened, an investigator says. Jamal's throat tightens. He remembers Doyle's hands choking him, the bruises, the fear. He remembers Marcus stepping in, the chants rising, the walls shaking. He swallows hard and speaks. He tried to kill me, in front of everyone, and no one stopped him until the inmates did. The investigator nods grimly, scribbling notes. And the warden? Jamal exhales. He let it happen, again and again. Doyle wasn't the disease. He was the symptom. When Jamal is escorted back, Marcus is waiting. How'd it go? Jamal shrugs. I told them the truth. All of it. Marcus's lips twitch into the faintest smile. Good. Truth is the only weapon they can't lock up. That evening, the block buzzes with energy. Men whisper about hearings, indictments, reform. Leon leans over the bunk. You hear them out there? The protests are bigger every night. They're not leaving until this place cracks. Jamal exhales, staring at the ceiling. And when it cracks, what happens to us? Leon shrugs. Maybe the light gets in. Across the block, Marcus sits quietly, his mind heavy. He knows the history is shifting, but shifts bring danger. When old power dies, it doesn't go quietly. And Whitaker is proof. In his office, long after investigators leave, Whitaker mutters to himself, pacing like a man possessed. They want to strip me of my title, my life's work. They want to parade me out like a criminal. No. If I fall on my terms. He stares at the empty spot on his desk where the revolver once lay. His fists clench. The next morning, the prison is unusually quiet. No chants, no clang of trays. Just silence. Jamal feels it instantly. Something's wrong, he whispers to Leon. Then alarms blare. Guards rush through the corridors, radios crackling. The word spreads fast. The warden is gone. Inmates press against their bars, shouting questions. Harris storms down the block, his face grim. Whitaker's been escorted out under federal custody, he announces. The block erupts. Cheers, shouts, fists pounding steel. Jamal grips the bars, stunned. Leon laughs, eyes wide. It's over. He's done. But Marcus doesn't cheer. His voice rumbles low. It's never over that clean. Wait and see. And Marcus is right again. Outside, reporters broadcast the breaking news. Warden Whitaker removed from Riverton. Protesters erupt into cheers, their chants thundering, "Shut it down! Shut it down!" Inside, the inmates chant back, voices rising into a storm. For the first time, the fortress feels less like a cage and more like a voice box, amplifying the sound of change. That night, Jamal lies awake, his chest tight with a mix of relief and fear. He's gone, he whispers. Leon smirks from the top bunk. Yeah, but the scars he left? Those don't walk out with him. Jamal nods slowly. He knows Leon is right. The fight isn't just about one guard or one warden. It's about a system built on silence. And though silence has been broken, the war is far from won. The day after Whitaker's removal, Riverton feels like a different world. The guards walk stiffly, their orders quieter, less confident. Inmates move with new posture, no longer hunched but upright, as if the weight on their backs has eased. Jamal notices it the moment he steps into the cafeteria. Men who once kept to their corners now nod at each other. The usual tension has shifted into something else, anticipation. Leon grins as they sit down. You feel that? It's like the whole place is breathing again. Jamal nods cautiously. Or holding its breath, waiting for what comes next. Marcus sits across from them, his presence alone commanding silence around their table. He studies the room with sharp eyes. Whitaker's gone, but that doesn't mean the storm passed. The system doesn't collapse in a day. It claws to survive. And Marcus is right. In the guard locker room, officers argue. Some mutter about quitting, others about transfers. One slams his locker shut. They're treating us like villains out there. Cameras everywhere, protests every night. My own family's getting calls. Another shakes his head. This all started with Doyle. If he hadn't lost his damn mind, we wouldn't be in this mess. The room falls silent when Doyle's name is spoken. Everyone knows he's not gone forever. Men like him linger like shadows. Back in the yard, Jamal walks beside Marcus. The sun is warm, but the tower looms above them. Jamal glances up, unease in his gut. What if Doyle comes back? Marcus leans on his cane, his voice even. Then we stand louder. Fear only works when you bow to it. We don't bow anymore. The chant begins again, soft at first. A few fists pound against chests. Thump, thump, thump. Then voices rise. Justice, justice, justice. The sound spreads, rolling through the yard, shaking the fences. Protesters outside hear it and answer back, their voices merging with the inmates. For a moment, the walls feel invisible, but in a federal holding cell miles away, Doyle seethes. His face is pale, his eyes sunken, but his rage is alive. He mutters to himself. They chant for him. They call me the monster. They think Hill and Brooks won, but I'm not finished. Not yet. Back inside Riverton, investigators continue their work. They comb through records, interview inmates, and confront guards. The truth pours out. Years of abuse, cover-ups, silenced complaints. Each story is a nail in the coffin of the old regime. Jamal is summoned again. He sits in a small room with a recorder on the table. Tell us about the night Doyle grabbed you, an investigator prompts. Jamal swallows hard, memories flooding back. He said I was nothing. Trash. He tried to choke me out in front of everyone. And when I looked around, no guard stopped him. Not one. It was Marcus who stood up. The inmates who rose. That's the truth. The investigator nods gravely. And that truth is what the world needs to hear. When Jamal returns to his cell, Leon claps him on the shoulder. You did good. Every word cuts deeper than a shank. Jamal sighs. Doesn't feel good. Feels heavy. Marcus overhears, his voice steady. That's because truth is heavy. But when it spreads, it makes others lighter. That night, the block hums with energy. Men whisper through vents, passing news. Some talk about reforms, others about freedom. Jamal lies awake, listening to the rhythm of the chants still echoing faintly outside. Justice, justice. Leon whispers from the top bunk. Think they'll shut this place down? Jamal stares at the ceiling. Maybe. But even if they don't, something's already broken, and something new's being built. Across the block, Marcus sits quietly, his thoughts heavy. He knows Jamal is right. Change is here, but change is never clean. And Whitaker? Removed, yes, but not erased. Men like him linger in the system like rot in old wood. It takes more than one strike to clear it. The next morning, news spreads fast. Hearings are scheduled, families of inmates will testify, and Riverton is now under federal watch. Cheers erupt in the cafeteria. Men pound their trays, voices rising in celebration. But Marcus doesn't cheer. He leans toward Jamal, his tone low. Celebrate, but stay sharp. When the system's cornered, it bites, and the bite can be deadly. Jamal nods, the unease in his chest growing. Then we don't stand alone. Marcus smirks faintly. Now you're learning. That night, in his distant cell, Doyle whispers into the darkness. You think you've silenced me, but you've only made me louder. And though Riverton is changing, Jamal knows the shadow of Doyle still lingers. The war isn't over. It's only shifting to a new battlefield. The days after Whitaker's removal bring a strange calm to Riverton. Guards still patrol, inmates still eat and march to the yard, but the rhythm has shifted. Fear doesn't walk as tall as it once did. Instead, whispers of change echo through every block. Jamal feels it as he enters the cafeteria. Men who used to hunch low now sit straighter, their eyes no longer darting nervously to the guards. Leon grins as he digs into his tray. Feels different, huh? Like the air's lighter. Jamal nods slowly. Yeah, but storms always feel calm right before they break. Marcus sits across from them, his crew flanking him. He leans on his cane, his gaze steady. Don't mistake this quiet for peace. Doyle's gone, Whitaker's gone, but the system still stands, and it doesn't forgive. His words linger, heavy in the silence. Later in the yard, Jamal notices groups of inmates mixing more freely. Old rivalries seem less important now. Men who once traded glares now nod in silent acknowledgement. Marcus watches, his lips curling faintly. Unity, he murmurs. That's what they fear most. From the tower above, guards shift uneasily. Without Doyle barking orders, their authority feels thinner. One mutters into his radio. The balance is off. They're moving different now. Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, protests swell larger than ever. Families of inmates speak into microphones, reporters broadcast live, and chants shake the city. Justice for Riverton. End the abuse. But in his federal holding cell, Doyle smolders. He paces like a wolf denied prey, his eyes hollow but burning. They cheer his name, he growls. They call me the villain. But villains don't fade. Villains wait. Back inside Riverton, investigators continue their work. They comb through decades of records, uncovering files buried deep. Complaints ignored, injuries unreported, punishments hidden. Every page is another crack in the walls. Jamal is called into the interview room again. He sits at the table, the recorder blinking red. Tell us what Riverton felt like before all this, the investigator prompts. Jamal exhales slowly. It felt like silence, like nothing you said mattered. You could scream, but no one would hear. And if Doyle heard you, he'd choke the scream out before it reached anyone else. He pauses, his throat tightening. But then Marcus stood. And when he stood, we all found our voices. The investigator nods gravely. That's exactly what the hearings need to hear. Back in the block, Leon can barely contain his excitement when Jamal returns. They're listening to you, man. You're not just a number anymore. You're a witness. Jamal shakes his head. I don't feel like a witness. I feel like a reminder of how close we came to silence forever. Marcus overhears, his voice steady. That reminder is power. Don't run from it. That night, the block vibrates with chants. Men pound their bars, the sound merging into a single wave. Justice! 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 Protesters outside answer, their candles flickering. For a moment, the walls of Riverton don't feel like walls at all. They feel like a drum, carrying the sound of resistance outward. But not everyone hears hope in the noise. In a hidden office, a small group of loyal guards whisper, Whitaker's gone, Doyle's locked up, but we're the ones left behind. They're painting us all as monsters. Another slams his fist on the table. We either take control back or we lose everything. The conversation grows darker. Plans form in whispers. Plans to strike, to remind the inmates who still holds the keys. The next morning, tension hums in the cafeteria. Inmates eat quietly, but their eyes track the guards more openly now. Jamal leans close to Leon. You feel that? Something's coming. Marcus rises from his seat, tapping his cane once against the floor. The sound carries like a signal. Eyes open, he says calmly. Don't flinch. Suddenly, a guard slams his baton onto a table, the crack echoing. Enough of the chants, he shouts. One more sound and you'll pay for it. The room stills. Every man waits. Jamal's heart hammers. Then, softly, one voice starts, Justice. Another joins. Then another. Within seconds, the entire cafeteria erupts in the chant. Fists pounding tables, the sound deafening. The guard's face reddens. He raises his baton, but before he can swing, Marcus's voice cuts through the roar. Lines matter. Cross this one, and you answer to all of us. The chant grows even louder. Guards shift uneasily, their formation faltering. Cameras in the corner blink red, recording everything. The guard lowers his baton slowly, backing away. The chant rolls on, shaking the walls. Jamal exhales, his chest heaving. Leon grins. You feel that? That's power. Real power. Marcus nods once, his eyes hard. And power like this doesn't come without a price. Be ready. That night, the block is alive. Men whisper through vents, hope burning brighter than fear. But Marcus sits quietly, his cane across his knees, his eyes sharp. He knows the fight isn't finished. Because power never disappears. It only shifts. And somewhere, Doyle waits in the dark, ready to strike again. The next week in Riverton feels like standing on a fault line, quiet but trembling. Every inmate feels it in their bones. Every guard senses it in their steps. Change is here, but so is danger. Jamal sits on his bunk, listening to the low hum of voices drifting through the vents. Leon leans down from the top bunk. They're saying hearings start next month. Families, lawyers, reporters, it's gonna be everywhere. Jamal nods slowly. And Doyle? Leon's grin fades. Word is he's not out for good. They're holding him, yeah, but he's talking, threatening, swearing he'll be back. Across the block, Marcus sits with his crew, cane resting across his knees. He listens more than he speaks, eyes sharp as knives. When Jamal approaches, Marcus nods. You hear the whispers? About Doyle? Jamal asks. Marcus's jaw tightens. About all of it. Whitaker's gone, but he had allies. Men in uniform who think like him, who cover for him. They're cornered now, and cornered men bite hardest. That morning, yard time feels different. Inmates gather in tighter clusters, voices low. Guards watch closely, but their confidence has cracked. Some bark orders half-heartedly, others just stand stiffly, afraid of drawing attention. Then the chant starts, soft at first, a few voices pounding chests in rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. Justice. More men join. The sound builds, rolling like thunder across the yard. Justice, justice, justice. From the tower, cameras capture everything. Outside, protesters hear the chant and answer back, their voices swelling into the air. The wall between inside and out feels paper thin. But in a federal holding cell far away, Doyle seethes. He slams his fists against the wall, his voice a growl. They chant his name. They cheer his survival. But chants won't save him when I get out. Hill, Brooks, every last one of them will pay. Back inside Riverton, Marcus sits with Jamal and Leon after yard time. The chants are working, Marcus says quietly. But don't let hope blind you. The system doesn't collapse without trying to drag us down with it. Leon frowns. So what's next? Marcus leans on his cane, his gaze steady. We hold the line. No fights, no chaos. Let them show their teeth first. The world is watching now, and every bite they take digs their own grave. Later that afternoon, the cafeteria hums with tension. Inmates eat quietly, waiting. Guards line the walls, their batons gripped tighter than usual. Jamal feels the knot in his chest. Something's coming, he mutters to Leon. Doyle isn't there, but his shadow lingers. A guard slams his tray onto the floor, shouting, "Enough of the chants! One more sound and you'll pay." The room freezes. Jamal's breath catches. Then, softly, Marcus begins to tap his cane against the floor. Clack, clack, clack. The sound spreads. Trays, fists, voices rising. Justice! 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 The guard's face reddens. He lifts his baton, but freezes. Cameras in the corner blink red, recording everything. Investigators are still inside the prison, their pens ready, their eyes sharp. The guard lowers his weapon, humiliated. The chant roars louder, drowning out the silence of fear. Jamal exhales, relief washing over him. Leon laughs. Every time they try, we stand taller. Marcus doesn't smile. And every time we stand taller, their hate grows. Don't forget that. That night, Harris walks the block, his expression weary but resolute. Inmates press to the bars, shouting questions. He stops at Marcus's cell. The hearings are real. The department's pushing harder than ever. But that means the backlash will be real too. Stay sharp. Marcus nods. We know. We're ready. Jamal steps forward, voice tight. Are we? Doyle's still out there. Whitaker's allies are still in here. We can't fight shadows. Harris meets his gaze. You don't have to. Just keep standing. That's enough. Back in his cell, Jamal lies awake, the chant still ringing faintly in his ears. Leon whispers from above. You ever think maybe this ends with you free? Not just you, but all of us? Maybe this is bigger than Riverton. Jamal stares at the ceiling. Bigger scares me more than prison. Prison I know. Out there's a war I can't see. But Leon only chuckles. Then fight the war you can see, one chant at a time. Across the block, Marcus sits silently, his thoughts heavy. He knows Leon is right in his own way. Change never comes in peace. It comes in storms. And the storm is still building. Meanwhile, in his holding cell, Doyle whispers to the dark, storms don't scare me, storms hide me, and when the noise fades, I'll strike. Back in Riverton, Jamal drifts into uneasy sleep, the chants echoing in his dreams. The war for justice isn't over. It's only sharpening. By the time hearings are officially announced, Riverton is no longer just a prison. It's the center of a movement. News vans crowd the gates, protesters chant day and night, and every network in the country carries footage of inmates pounding bars in unison. Inside, Jamal feels the weight of it every time he walks into the cafeteria. Men nod to him openly now, not just in gratitude but in recognition. Leon smirks as they sit. You're a symbol, brother. Doesn't matter if you want it, you are. Jamal shakes his head. I'm just a man who survived Doyle. Marcus leans across the table, his cane resting against his knee. And survival in the face of hate is power. Don't run from it. But Doyle hasn't disappeared. In his federal cell, he paces endlessly, muttering under his breath. They turned him into a hero. They turned me into the monster. But heroes fall and monsters crawl back. His fists slam against the wall, the echo rattling the silence. Back at Riverton, Harris addresses the block during evening rounds. The department's sending in oversight teams. Cameras will be installed on every tier. This is your chance to be heard. Don't waste it. Men cheer, fists pounding bars. Jamal watches Marcus carefully. You believe him? Marcus's gaze is steady. Cameras are tools. Truth is a weapon. Doesn't matter who holds them. The world sees now. That's enough. The next day, the yard is tense. Guards stand in tighter formation, radios crackling constantly. Inmates cluster near Marcus, their voices low. Jamal whispers, feels like they're waiting for something. Marcus nods, because they are. Whitaker's gone, Doyle's gone, but the men loyal to them are still here. And when loyalty rots, it turns to vengeance. His words prove true. That evening in the cafeteria, a group of guards storm in suddenly, shields raised, batons ready. The room stills, every inmate freezing. One guard shouts, "Back to your cells, now!" Marcus rises slowly, his voice calm. "We're eating, that's all." The guard sneers. Not anymore. He slams his baton on the table near Jamal, the sound sharp. "You think chants make you strong? We'll remind you who holds the keys." The room hums with tension. Inmates glance at Marcus. He taps his cane once, the sound deliberate, and then the chant begins. Soft at first, then louder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" The guards flinch at the sound, shields trembling. The chant grows, rolling through the room, echoing off steel. Outside, protesters hear the noise and answer back, their voices merging with the roar inside. The guards hesitate, but one swings his baton suddenly, striking a tray from an inmate's hands. Food splatters, shouts erupt. The room teeters on chaos. Marcus steps forward, his voice booming. "No violence! Stand tall!" Jamal's heart hammers as he rises with the others. Fists pound tables, voices thunder, the chant deafening. The guards falter, their show of force unraveling under the weight of unity. Cameras on the walls blink red, capturing every second. Finally, Harris storms in, his voice sharp. "Stand down, all of you." He glares at the guards. "You just handed the department more proof than they needed." The guards lower their batons reluctantly, shame burning their faces. The chant continues, louder than ever. Later, back in the block, Leon can't stop grinning. "You see that? They tried to break us and ended up breaking themselves." Jamal exhales shakily. What if next time they don't stop? Marcus leans on his cane, his gaze heavy. Then the world sees it. And once the world sees, the system has no place to hide. That night, whispers ripple through the prison. Hearings will begin within days. Doyle will be called to testify, and Riverton itself will be laid bare. But in his cell miles away, Doyle smiles through the dark. Let them drag me into hearings. Let them paint me as the villain. I'll drag them down with me. Hill, Brooks, all of them. At Riverton, Jamal lies awake, Leon whispering from the top bunk. Feels like we're on the edge of something, D. Like the next step decides it all. Jamal stares at the ceiling, the chant still echoing faintly through the vents. Then we stand. No matter what. Marcus sits silently across the tier, his cane resting against his knees. His eyes are sharp, his mind steady. He knows Jamal is right. Because battles aren't won in noise. They're won in the moments after, when silence dares you to keep standing. And Riverton is still standing. The hearings begin under a gray sky. Reporters crowd the courthouse steps, microphones flashing, cameras trained on the doors. Families of inmates hold signs demanding change. Protesters chant the word that has shaken Riverton for weeks. Justice, justice, justice. Inside Riverton, inmates feel the shift like a tremor. Guards march stiffly, their voices sharper, as if clinging to the last scraps of authority. Jamal sits on his bunk, listening to the faint echo of chants drifting from the outside world. Leon leans down from the top bunk. They're talking about you out there, D. About Doyle. About that day in the cafeteria. Jamal shakes his head. I never wanted any of this. I just wanted to make it through my time. Marcus's gravelly voice carries from across the tier. History doesn't care what you want. It cares what you endure and how you stand through it. That morning, investigators sweep through the prison again. They question guards, interview inmates, and seize records. The men inside watch closely, their whispers filled with hope and fear. They're digging deep now. Doyle's name is all over those files. Whitaker, too. In the cafeteria, the mood is electric. Jamal sits with Marcus and Leon. A younger inmate leans in, whispering, "They said Doyle might testify. Can you imagine? Him, sitting in front of the whole world, trying to explain himself." Marcus chuckles darkly. Explain? Men like Doyle don't explain. They twist, they blame, they snarl. But truth is heavier than lies, and eventually it crushes. Meanwhile, in his holding cell, Doyle paces. His lawyer sits across from him, flipping through papers. "They'll want your testimony," the lawyer says. "You can deny, deflect, but the footage doesn't lie. The chokehold, the baton, the rifle." Doyle slams his fist against the table. "They provoked me. Hill, Brooks, all of them. They turned the prison against me. I was keeping order." The lawyer sighs. "Say that if you want, but remember, cameras will be on you, the country watching. Every word you spit digs your grave deeper." Doyle sneers. "Then I'll take them down with me." Back at Riverton, Harris walks the block, his expression tight. Inmates press to the bars, shouting questions. He pauses at Marcus's cell. "The hearings are your chance. Speak truth, hold steady, but be ready. There will be backlash." Marcus nods. "We've been ready. We've been standing since the first chokehold." Jamal swallows hard. "And if Doyle comes back? If they let him walk free?" Harris's eyes harden. "Then the system is more broken than even I thought. But broken things can still be rebuilt." That evening, the block vibrates with chants. Men pound their bars, the sound rolling like thunder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Protesters outside answer, their voices merging into one. Jamal listens, his chest heavy but proud. "It's bigger than Riverton now," he whispers to Leon. Leon grins. "Exactly. And that's why they can't stop it." The next day, televisions in the cafeteria flicker with live coverage of the hearings. Inmates gather around, silent but intent. On the screen, families of prisoners testify, mothers, wives, children. They tell stories of beatings, of fear, of silence forced on them for years. Jamal's throat tightens as a woman says, "My son wrote letters about the abuse. They never answered. He came home in a coffin." The room is silent, except for the hum of the television. Even the guards don't speak. Then the headline flashes, Former guard. Frank Doyle, to testify tomorrow. The cafeteria erupts in murmurs. Jamal feels his chest seize. Leon mutters, "There it is. The monster speaks." Marcus leans forward, his eyes locked on the screen. Let him talk. His own hate will bury him. That night, Jamal can't sleep. He stares at the ceiling, memories of Doyle's hands on his throat flooding back. Leon whispers from above, "You'll see him fall, D. You'll see it with your own eyes." Jamal exhales shakily. "I'm afraid. Not of him, but of what happens if the world doesn't believe us." Across the tier, Marcus's voice rumbles low. "They already believe, Brooks. The world has seen the bruises, the chants, the unity. Tomorrow isn't about truth. It's about how far hate will go to deny it." In his distant cell, Doyle sharpens his rage like a blade. He whispers to the dark, "Let them watch, let them cheer. Tomorrow I'll remind them all who I am." And Riverton holds its breath, waiting for the storm of testimony that could either bury the truth or ignite it forever. The morning of Doyle's testimony arrives with a heaviness that hangs over both Riverton and the courthouse downtown. Outside the prison walls, protesters swell into the thousands, their chants shaking the air. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" News helicopters circle overhead, capturing every angle. Inside the cafeteria, televisions glow. Inmates crowd around the screens, their trays untouched. Jamal sits beside Leon, his chest tight. Marcus leans on his cane, eyes sharp, never blinking. On screen, the hearing room comes into view. Officials sit in rows, microphones gleaming. Cameras flash as guards escort Doyle to the stand. He looks different, tired, sunken-eyed, but his sneer remains. He sits down, straightens his shoulders, and glares into the cameras as if daring them to blink first. The lead investigator clears his throat. "Mr. Doyle, you are under oath. Do you understand?" "I understand," Doyle growls. "Let's begin with the incident involving inmate Jamal Brooks. Multiple witnesses report that you attempted to choke him in the cafeteria. Do you deny this?" Doyle smirks. "I was doing my job. Brooks was out of line. I restrained him, that's all." Gasps ripple through the hearing room. On the screen, Jamal feels his fists clench. Leon mutters, "Restrained? He nearly killed you." The investigator presses. Footage shows you with both hands around Mr. Brooks's throat. He was unarmed, seated, offering no resistance. Explain that. Doyle's sneer falters, but only slightly. "These people," he gestures broadly, his voice dripping venom, "they don't understand discipline. You let them run wild, you lose control. I kept control." The room erupts in murmurs. Cameras flash. Protesters outside the courthouse chant louder, their voices spilling through the television speakers. The investigator leans in. "So your definition of control is violence? Choking unarmed men? Pointing a rifle into a cafeteria full of inmates?" Doyle's face reddens. "I did what had to be done. These men are animals." The room gasps. Jamal's chest tightens, but Marcus's voice rumbles from beside him. "There it is. His truth. Hate can't hide forever." On the screen, the investigator's voice sharpens. "Animals? These are men, human beings under your care, and you abused them. You brutalized them. You betrayed the badge you wore." Doyle slams a fist on the table. "They betrayed me first. Hill, Brooks, the lot of them. They turned the prison against me. They chanted, they mocked, they stripped me of authority. What was I supposed to do? Let them win?" The investigator's eyes narrow. "This isn't about losing authority. This is about losing humanity. And today, Mr. Doyle, the world sees exactly who you are." The gavel slams. Doyle's testimony is over. The cameras cut to the officials whispering urgently, to families in the audience wiping tears, to protesters outside cheering wildly. In Riverton, the cafeteria explodes with noise. Inmates pound their trays, voices thundering, "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Jamal feels his chest loosen, breath finally coming easier. Leon grins wide. He buried himself. You saw it. He dug his own grave right there. Marcus nods once, his face calm but satisfied. Hate always does. That night, the block hums with energy. Men whisper through vents, their voices filled with hope. Doyle's finished. They'll indict him. Maybe the whole system changes. Jamal lies awake on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Leon whispers from above. You did it, D. He called you out by name, but you're still here. He's the one who fell. Jamal exhales. I didn't do it. We did. Every chant, every stand, it broke him more than fists ever could. Across the tier, Marcus's gravelly voice carries in the dark. Remember this. Justice isn't a straight road. It twists, it turns, it doubles back. But today, the truth walked a little further than yesterday. And he's right. In his holding cell, Doyle sits in silence, chains clinking at his wrists. The sneer is gone. His eyes are hollow, his future uncertain. For the first time, he doesn't look like a predator. He looks like a man finally cornered by his own rage. Outside, protesters chant into the night, their voices echoing across the city. No more silence, no more abuse. And inside Riverton, Jamal whispers to himself, his voice steady. Justice is breathing, and it's not stopping now. The day after Doyle's testimony, Riverton feels electric. Word spreads fast through the blocks. Every man knows what he said, how he called them animals, how he tried to justify the chokehold, the rifle, the batons. But most importantly, every man knows the world saw him unravel. In the cafeteria, Jamal sits with Leon and Marcus as the television replays the footage. Doyle's voice booms from the screen. These men are animals. The room erupts, not in anger, but in laughter. Bitter, sharp laughter that rattles the trays. Leon shakes his head, grinning. You hear that? He thought he was burying us. Instead, he buried himself. Jamal exhales, the tension in his chest easing for the first time in weeks. Yeah, but men like Doyle don't just vanish. Hate lingers. Marcus taps his cane against the floor, his voice calm. True. But now his hate is chained, recorded, broadcast. He can't hide it anymore. And once truth is seen, it can't be unseen. By afternoon, the block hums with whispers. Some inmates talk about reforms, shorter sentences, fair hearings. Others whisper about freedom. For the first time in years, hope feels less like a dream and more like a possibility. But Marcus stays cautious. He gathers Jamal and a few others near the bars. Listen, Doyle's gone, Whitaker's gone, but their allies remain. Men who think like them, men who covered for them. They'll push back. The system never surrenders without a fight. Jamal frowns. So what do? Marcus's gaze hardens. What we've always done. Stand. Together. Meanwhile, outside Riverton, the movement grows. Families of inmates flood the courthouse steps, candles in hand. Reporters broadcast live, their voices solemn. Doyle's testimony may have shifted the tide. Federal hearings are expanding. Calls for reform are louder than ever. Back in Riverton's guard locker room, tension brews. Some officers whisper about transfers, others about resigning. One slams his locker shut. They painted us all as monsters. Doesn't matter if we kept clean, they'll see us the same way. Another mutters, that's what happens when men like Doyle run free. He poisoned us all. But a third leans forward, voice low and bitter. Poison or not, we can't let inmates think they've won. If the system falls, we fall with it. The words hang heavy, dangerous. That evening, the block erupts in chants again. Fists pound bars, voices thunder, justice, justice, justice. The sound merges with protesters outside, echoing across the city. Jamal grips the bars, his voice joining, his chest swelling with something that feels like freedom. Later in his cell, Leon leans over the bunk. Feels like we've already won, D. Jamal shakes his head. Not yet. Winning isn't hearing Doyle fall. Winning is making sure no one like him rises again. Across the tier, Marcus listens, his eyes sharp. He's right. The system has deep roots. Pulling one weed doesn't clear the garden. In his holding cell, Doyle stews, chains heavy on his wrists. His lawyer leans across the table. They'll indict you, you know that. Best you can hope for is a deal. Doyle sneers. A deal? I don't deal. They made me the villain. I'll show them what villains do. The lawyer sighs, fear flickering in his eyes. Back at Riverton, Harris walks the block. Inmates press to the bars, shouting questions. Is he finished? Will we get change? Harris answers as honestly as he can. Doyle's finished, but change doesn't come easy. You keep standing, and maybe the world keeps listening. Marcus nods. We've been standing this long. We won't stop now. That night, Jamal lies awake, Leon whispering from above. You ever think about walking free one day? Not just you, but all of us. Free in ways bigger than gates and chains. Jamal stares at the ceiling, his throat tight. I think about it. And it scares me, because freedom means carrying the weight of every man who didn't make it here. Leon is quiet for a long moment. Then he says softly, That's not fear, D. That's honor. Across the block, Marcus grips his cane, his thoughts heavy. He knows the fight isn't finished. Doyle may be gone, Whitaker disgraced, but shadows remain. Systems rot slowly, and every step forward risks a push back. But for the first time in years, Marcus allows himself a whisper of belief. Maybe the tide is turning, he mutters. And Riverton, once a fortress of silence, now feels like the beating heart of a storm. The morning after Doyle's testimony, Riverton feels alive in a way no one imagined months ago. The walls, once silent and suffocating, hum with the sound of voices refusing to be quiet. Protesters outside swell into the tens of thousands. Reporters camp at the gates, their cameras never blinking. Inside, the cafeteria buzzes as televisions replay Doyle's downfall. His words echo again and again. These men are animals. But instead of breaking spirits, the words fuel laughter, chants, and unity. Jamal sits with Leon, both watching as commentators dissect every second of the hearing. He thought he was burying us, Leon says with a grin. Instead, he buried himself. Marcus leans on his cane, calm but sharp. Doyle's finished. Whitaker too. But this isn't just about them. It's about making sure the system that fed them doesn't keep breathing. By afternoon, the department announces indictments. Doyle will face charges for assault, abuse of power, and attempted murder. Whitaker will be tried for covering up years of corruption. The news sends a shockwave through Riverton. The block erupts in cheers, men pounding their bars. The chant rises again, louder than ever. Justice, justice, justice. For Jamal, the sound is overwhelming. He grips the bars, his throat tightening. Leon claps him on the back. That's you, brother. That's your survival, your voice, your fight. You gave them something to believe in. Jamal shakes his head. I didn't give them anything. Marcus stood. We all stood. That's what gave this life. Across the tier, Marcus nods slowly. His gravelly voice cuts through the noise. Unity gave it life, and unity will keep it breathing. That night, the block glows with energy. Men whisper through vents, sharing hope, daring to dream. Some talk about reforms, others about freedom. For the first time, the whispers aren't about fear, they're about possibility. But Jamal lies awake, staring at the ceiling. What if it doesn't last? He asks softly. Leon whispers from above. Then we make it last. Every chant, every stand. It's bigger than walls now. The world's listening. And he's right. Outside Riverton, protests grow into a movement. Families of inmates march in the streets. Politicians speak about reform. News anchors call Riverton the heart of a reckoning. In his holding cell, Doyle sits hollow-eyed, his hands cuffed. The sneer that once ruled his face is gone. For the first time, he looks small, just a man stripped of hate's armor. Whitaker sits in another cell miles away, his legacy crumbled into dust. Back in Riverton, Harris walks the tiers, his voice steady. The department is taking over. Oversight is permanent. Cameras on every block. This is just the beginning. Inmates cheer. Jamal grips the bars, his voice joining the chant. No more silence, no more abuse. The sound rolls through the prison, over the walls, into the city beyond. The next morning, the cafeteria is different. Guards no longer bark orders. Inmates eat quietly but proudly, their heads high. Marcus sits with Jamal and Leon. You feel it? He asks. Jamal nods. Feels like change. Marcus taps his cane once. Feels like justice. Not perfect, not finished, but alive. Reporters broadcast live outside the gates as the protesters' chants merge with the voices inside. Riverton has become more than a prison. It's a symbol, a drumbeat for reform across the nation. That evening, Jamal stands in his cell, gripping the bars. The sunset bleeds through the narrow window, painting the walls gold. Leon leans over the bunk, grinning. We did it, D. You stood. We all stood, and the world saw. Jamal exhales, his throat tight. No, we're still standing. That's what matters. Across the tier, Marcus closes his eyes, his voice rumbling. And as long as we stand, justice breathes. The lights dim. The chants rise one last time, louder than ever. Justice! 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 And for the first time, Riverton doesn't feel like a fortress of silence. It feels like the place where silence finally died. Justice has found its voice, and it will never be silenced again.